my name is Michelle, and I'm not a nurse, and I'm not qualified really to give any kind of information, so don't come back and sue me for this information. But I just thought, this is probably something that a lot of young mothers don't know, and since I was a mother, well, I'm still a mother, but since I was a housewife and mother for 25 years, I think I'm qualified to give a little bit of information about baby's fever. A lot of times people will just take a baby and they'll rush it to the emergency room without trying things on their own to lower a fever. And these are just things that I found helpful over the years in case you can't afford to go to the hospital. I understand a lot of people don't have Medicaid, they don't have health insurance, and this would be just some ways you could try to lower your baby's fever, not a little tiny, teeny baby. Now, if they have a high fever, you should take them, but in general, fever is your friend. Just remember those words. Fever is your friend because fever is fighting the infection in your body, and it's burning off whatever virus that baby has. And so the first thing I would always do with my babies when they would have a fever, being a young mother, I would rush them to the emergency room too. And nowadays, emergency rooms won't give you any information what you should do in case of a fever. If there's ever any question, you should take them to a doctor, of course, to an emergency room. But this is what I found to be helpful. Of course, you're going to give them the baby Tylenol, and you know that the baby Tylenol and the child Tylenol is two different doses. So don't give your child a teaspoon of one medicine without reading the box, because a lot of babies have gotten really sick off of the doctor will say go home and give them an eyedropper full of baby Tylenol. Then somebody will just give them liquid Tylenol and they give them too big a dose. And so Tylenol can be dangerous in itself. So, or acetaminophen. I shouldn't use the brand name Tylenol because all acetaminophen would be the same thing. And I use Tylenol myself and have for many years. But anyway, um, hmm, anyway, you give them the dosage of Tylenol that it says on the bottle according to their age, and then you get their head wet right away. If their fever is extremely high, get their head wet, because wetting their head is going to make their fever come down. Put them in a coolish tub, like a lukewarm, or even take a warm cloth and just wipe their body off and maybe set them in a fan. In the old days we used to think, bundle them up, let them break that fever, bring that fever to a head. But nowadays we don't want to bring the fever up, we want to bring it down. So uncover them, wet their head, wet their body, put them in a cool tub. My doctor in Ohio told me that you can alternate acetaminophen and ibuprofen in children, and that'll bring a fever down better. Of course, if the fever stays up and you're so worried, but a lot of times fever in the night is worse than in the day. So if they spike a fever at night, there are ways that you can bring them down without rushing them out of the house and getting all nervous. And I just want you to remember that fever is your friend. Just remember that. Fever is not a bad thing. And so, and a lot of times antibiotics too will interfere with their healing. Antibiotics will kill the good bacteria that the body's trying to get rid of all on its own. And so these are just things I've learned as a mother over the years. Another thing I'll share is about nosebleeds. In the old days, when we get a nosebleed, we'd always put our head back. Well, now they're saying don't do that because the blood will go back into your sinuses and clot in there. So you don't want that. So you want the blood to drain down. So you just pinch the nostrils like that, and that'll stop the nosebleed. But you keep your head straight. Don't put your head back like that. So these are just a couple little tidbits that I've learned as a mother, and some that, maybe you haven't thought about. Also, I've got another handy hint. If you want to make something different for supper tonight, you take macaroni and cheese, and you cook macaroni and cheese, and then throw in a can of chili, and it's Chili Mac, and it's really delicious, and it's different, and it's cheap. So anyway, that's Michelle and her helpful hints, and have a wonderful day.